Viewers, for a while now, we have wondered what could have made a Prime Minister pose with the self-confessed killer of Kashmiri Hindus. The photo of Manmohan Singh, the video of Manmohan Singh with Yasin Malik is a grotesque insult to this unrepentant killer's Hindu victims. As we investigated the reason, we stumbled upon a shocking document. That document is in my hand, viewers. And therefore tonight, I begin with a definitive expose, a file the contents of which have never been made public, but form the basis for a policy of appeasement that sought to reward those who conspired to plot and execute the genocide of Kashmiri Hindus. Viewers, the file contains recommendations of a working group set up by Dr. Manmohan Singh in 2006, just a little after he had an hour-long huddle with Yasin Malik, the butcher of Kashmiri Hindus. The working group comprised of 18 members, led by Hamid Ansari, who was then the chief of the National Minorities Commission and went on to becoming the Vice President of India. Yes, viewers, the same Hamid Ansari who today talks about saving secularism because it is under assault from the Hindutva brigade spreading Islamophobia was committed. Yes, he was committed to rewarding the soldiers of Islamist terrorism who presided over the genocide of Kashmiri Hindus in the valley. What greater hypocrisy can there be? The report of the working group reads like a gift certificate, as it promises several benefits to the prosecutors of Kashmiri Hindus with a view to legitimizing their unspeakable crimes. Viewers, let me show you this document. As you can see, viewers, it is a 15-page working group report. You can see right here the chairperson is Muhammad Hamid Ansari, who was then the National Commission for Minorities chairman, viewers. Yes, the same Hamid Ansari who went on to become the Vice President of India and was a favorite of the UPA. The working group was constituted after an announcement was made by Dr. Manmohan Singh, the Honorable Prime Minister of India, in the Roundtable Conference held at Srinagar on 25th and 24th May of 2006. Here it is, viewers, in black and white. The group had the following agenda, and it lists the agenda. It's a 6-point agenda, viewers. Then it goes on to talk about the methodology adopted by the group, the meetings that were held, 3 meetings, 2006, 27/7/2006, 15/9/2006, and 24/11/2006, all, viewers, in Srinagar and 2 in Jammu. Then it goes on to list the background of the issues. So each issue, viewers, has a paragraph or 2 on it, elucidating the background of that particular issue. Then there are the recommendations of the working group. Here it is, viewers, the recommendations of the working group, and it breaks it down, recommendation on each issue. And finally, viewers, in a few pages afterwards, the following may therefore be considered. What is being considered, viewers? An unconditional dialogue process should be started with militant groups for finding a sustainable solution to the problem of militancy in the state. Yes, viewers, an unconditional dialogue. An unconditional dialogue without any strings attached. Those very same groups, viewers, who committed genocide were going to be asked to become part of an exercise to find peace in the valley. It's a bit like inviting the Nazis to the table without asking them to A, atone for their crime, B, viewers, lay down their weapons while they were massacring Jews, and then asking them to provide the solution to the final solution. Viewers, it is a grotesque exhibition of appeasement. No preconditions. These terrorists were not even asked to come out and apologize to the Hindu Kashmiris for what was done to them. These people were not even asked to lay down their arms. These people, viewers, were not even asked to call for a ceasefire, a unilateral ceasefire, to start this dialogue. And who is chairing this is Hamid Ansari, who sits and gives lectures around the world about the rising tide of Islamophobia in our country. He had no qualms about laying out, viewers, the red carpet for the biggest Hindu phobes in the world. Viewers, this really reeks of an unpardonable, almost criminal hypocrisy. No wonder the UPA was not invested in bringing any justice to the Kashmiri Hindus. Viewers, if I tell you, in fact, that they even equated the suffering of the Kashmiri Hindus to that of the tears that were being shed by the kin of the terrorists who had lost their loved ones, you would be even more horrified. But this is exactly what was recommended. It's here, viewers, right here in front of me. So, viewers, the kin of the terrorists were going to be paid exactly the same compensation as the kin of those government employees who were serving the Indian state, or even soldiers, viewers, the forces in Kashmir. Can you believe that? It's all here, viewers, in my hand. First you betray the Kashmiri Hindus, then you betray the patriots who have been killed by the very same terrorists by giving them the same compensation that you are giving to the relatives of the terrorists. Viewers, you are incentivizing terrorism. Imagine, viewers, if all the victims of the 26/11 Mumbai attacks, their families were given the same compensation as Kasab's parents or his kin for Kasab's death. How would you feel? How would they feel? But this is what was happening, viewers. This was the mindset. No wonder, viewers, the Kashmir files that has brought out this truth is today being pilloried by this very same lobby, the same ecosystem that says, oh, this is promoting a form of Islamophobia, hate against Muslims. Viewers, what a shame. What an absolute shame. And it has taken times now, unfortunately, viewers, 32 years too late to bring this out. So I also hold myself culpable. We ourselves are culpable in this conspiracy of silence, obfuscation, hypocrisy, call it what you want to. It's shameful. The Manmohan Singh government meets a terrorist. This was not some accidental meeting, some afterthought, chalo mil lete hain. This was part of a design which is very well spelt out in these documents, in these reports prepared by the working committee, the working group set up by Dr. Manmohan Singh himself, chaired by Hamid Ansari, the beacon of secularism in our country. Vivek Agnihotri joins me. Mr. Agnihotri, it now turns out that the UPA government, I'm just going to connect to him. I'm going to connect to him in just a few moments. But before that, let me bring in Mr. Sushil Pandit and Sunanda Vashisht, people who have suffered firsthand the excesses of people like Yasin Malik. Sushil Pandit, what are you going through?
Rahul, this is unbearable. I have to make 3 points to underscore the travesty we've suffered. One, here is the chairman of the Minority Commission. Minority, we were a minority in Jammu and Kashmir. And if we were under the watch and care of this Minority Commission chairman, I can only say that we were abandoned and thrown to the wolves. That man had completely compromised his own role in protecting us, a less than 5% minority in Kashmir Valley. This man should be tried for that first crime that he committed. The second one, Kashmir did not wait for his recommendations. In fact, this was the first stint of Mufti Muhammad Saeed as chief minister after 2003 till 2006. In the name of healing touch, the government actually created a policy that made them complicit with jihad. This policy was called SRO 43. I've been screaming about it for years now. But here is the speaking evidence of how this was practiced. And SRO 43 is a policy which prevails in a lot of other state governments, where any state government employee, if he dies in service before his superannuation, the most deserving in his immediate family are given some ex gratia and also a job in the government suitable to their qualifications on compassionate grounds. This is how government looks after the families, the left behinds of their employees. In the name of healing touch, Mufti Muhammad Saeed said, even the militants killed in encounters leave behind families who cannot be blamed for their son or brother turning out to be a terrorist, a jihadi. And therefore, the same privileges and the same concessions and exceptions be made for them. This is the second travesty that happened. And why it becomes a bigger travesty, it's compounded because till date, this is the third point, not a single Kashmiri Hindu killed has been compensated for his life to his family. Not a single death, not a single murder.
But they were planning to compensate all the terrorists who carried out the
not a dime of
crimes against
compensation
you
for the property snatched, houses lost, lands lost. So no compensation to Hindu victims, no acknowledgement of crimes against them, and of course no protection as minority. Whereas all of this was available under the supervision of Hamid Ansari's report. This is where I think we were done in. It was not just a commission or omission, it was a matter of complicitness by the governments, the very governments who were supposed to be protecting us.
A handshake with a butcher. There was a policy behind this picture. I want to bring in straight off the bat Sajjad Tariq of the Congress. Mr. Sajjad Tariq, the Prime Minister meeting with the terrorists, a working group coming out and saying that we must have an unconditional dialogue with terrorists for finding a sustainable solution. People who are waging war against the Indian state, what compulsion was making you, sir, have an unconditional dialogue with them? Surrender, total surrender. Mr. Jindal, what do you have to say? Members of the Congress party, Mr. Jindal, unconditional dialogue. Unconditional dialogue.
Good evening, Rahul, and good evening to all my fellow panelists. See, we have been talking about the genocide, but I would like to bring to focus why this genocide
Jindal, talk about the question I'm asking you. What were you doing? What were you doing wanting to speak? What was Manmohan Singh doing, shaking hands with the terrorists as part of a policy to initiate an unconditional dialogue?
So that we could rehabilitate and resettle the Kashmiri Hindus. That's why there was a dialogue.
An unconditional dialogue. You know what? If you had punished all these people, if you had punished the murderers, they would have come right back because people would never have dared to touch them again.
What do you want the state to
That is crime and punishment, my dear friend.
In Kashmir, we wanted to keep on conflicting.
What kind of logic is this?
Is that the solution for
So
the
are you
Kashmiri
going to
Hindus?
say that you're going to have 1 minute?
No,
Maybe
please
that was
tell
the
me one
logic.
thing.
Maybe
How
that
are
was
we
the
going to
logic.
reset
That's why you wanted to talk to
and reset the
Pakistan
Kashmiri
so that they would
Hindus?
stop killing Indians. That's why you wanted unconditional dialogue with Pakistan.
That had been crafted by the Manmohan Singh government. And in order to have
Mr.
that
Mr.
executed, we needed
Jindal,
support
no
from the
wonder we got
grassroots level.
attacked on 26/11 because your government thought that by holding an unconditional dialogue with Pakistan, the butcherer of Indians, forget about just Hindus, Sikhs,
Our policy was
Muslims,
being dominated
1
by
minute,
the Gujarat doctrine, the very
would have
Gujarat
actually
doctrine which was
turned
initiated by the
Pakistanis
NDA.
into
It was
apostles of
Atal Bihari
peace.
Vajpayee who visited Pakistan.
You
It
are
was Atal
shocking
Bihari
me,
Vajpayee who
Mr.
stole
Lokesh
some
Jindal. You
form
could
of
have corrected that.
diplomacy.
You came after Vajpayee. He lost the election. He lost the election. Maybe for these reasons. Advani even lost his political future because he went and said something about Jinnah.
The elections. Let me correct the facts, sir.
But you were hugging, but you were hugging, 1 second, but you were hugging Yasin Malik, the butcher of Hindus.
Who was from the RSS.
Let me just, listen to me. Lokesh Jindal, you may not like what I am saying, but you have to today hear what Sunanda Vashisht and Sushil Pandit will have to say to you. Sunanda Vashisht, direct your response to this man, Lokesh Jindal, who represents the Congress party, and his friend Sajjad, who's sitting right next to him, Ratan Sharda, right after. Yes, Sunanda Vashisht.
He's making me laugh. You know, he said they were talking to Yasin Malik because they wanted to rehabilitate Kashmiri Hindus. I don't know what to do but to laugh. मेरा कातिल ही मेरा मुंसिफ है, क्या मेरे हक में फैसला देगा? But anyway, let me just get to this. What you have in your hand, Rahul, is so far, I have not seen it, so it's a classified document. So this is shocking classified document. But even what was available in the press at that time when this macabre dance was going on was enough to shock right-minded people in this country. But it didn't shock them. I will tell you what was happening. This meeting in 2006 that you are showing the video of didn't happen. This was not the first meeting between Prime Minister and this was the first meeting between Prime Minister, but this was not the first meeting between Manmohan Singh and Yasin Malik. He had met him twice before, once in 2001 and next time in 2003. He had met Yasin Malik first in journalist Prem Shankar Jha's house. Second time, he met him in Sonia Gandhi's house in 2003. It was only this that led to the meetings that were held in 2006. How do I know? From Yasin Malik's own quotes, from Yasin Malik's own interviews. Because remember, Yasin Malik was the darling of media those days. Every second day we were reading his interviews. Every second day we were reading his quotes. He has said that even before this meeting, he met Manmohan Singh twice. This meeting, Rahul, go back to the archives and see how this meeting was held. This meeting was not held with a terrorist. This meeting was held, the way it was organized was like between two heads of state talking. It was literally like this. This was no ordinary photo op. Don't mistake it for an ordinary photo op. Even that would have been reprehensible. But this was held literally like how two heads of state would talk. Who was present in the meeting at that time? It was a high-level delegation. then Home Minister Shivraj Patil, then NSA M.K. Narayanan, Center's then interlocutor on J&K NN Vora, Principal Secretary to PM T.K. Nair was present along with the Prime Minister. When all these luminaries are present, what do you think? This is only when you talk to a head of a state or something. After that high-level meeting, proper briefing of media was done. Sound bites were given on both sides. And you know, even before this meeting was set up, when the invite was, just give me 30 seconds, when the invite was sent to Yasin Malik, he did not accept the invite right away. The newspapers at that time quoted him making the Prime Minister of the mighty Indian state wait. He said he is going to talk to his organizational units in POK and England. Only then will he decide if he wants to meet Prime Minister of mighty state of India. This is the macabre dance that was going on. This is a terrorist who is on record for killing Hindus. This is some black humor that was going at that point. Everyone, all newspapers were reporting it. He was made the real and legitimate stakeholder of Kashmir. He was told by Prime Minister Manmohan Singh to go and talk to Hafiz Saeed and Syed Salahuddin, which he did. After this meeting, he did go across the border and he spoke to, and he was given a ceremonial welcome by LET Hafiz Saeed. And Hafiz, think about it, Rahul. Hafiz Saeed was made stakeholder of Kashmir. But Kashmiri Hindus, the real aboriginals who were holding on to Constitution of India, who were holding on to tricolor, they had no voice.
And you know,
that's what was happening.
Ms. Vashisht, Rahul Gandhi has the temerity to come out and say that he's a Kashmiri Hindu.
Can I come, Rahul?
Will you give me 3 minutes?
Yeah,
Rahul.
Go ahead, Mr. Sajjad Tariq.
3 minutes and hopefully
you have surrendered unconditionally.
अरे राहुल जी मुझे बोलने दीजिए ना.
Appeasement.
Don't put your words in my mouth. Let
आप
me
बोलिए
speak.
सर, मैं
Let
सवाल
me
तो
speak for 3 minutes.
सवाल पूछना
And
गुनाह
I
है.
hope, सुनिए मेरी बात, आपने सवाल सारे पूछ लिए, 15 पूछे हैं, जवाब भी ले लीजिए. मैं सभी पार्टिसिपेंट से कहूंगा कि एटलीस्ट 3 मिनट्स मुझे दे दीजिए. It was Congress who has put Yasin Malik behind the bars. It was Congress जिसने शबीर शाह को behind the bars डाला. It was Congress. No, this is one part. Second part is this, that
where did you arrest him from?
Listen to me.
Manmohan Singh's house.
What?
Where did you arrest him from? Prime Minister's house. कब डाला जेल में उसको?
अरे he was not imprisoned. Mr. Sushil Pandit, what do you mean to say?
No, that's what I'm saying. Where did you arrest him from?
He was not imprisoned.
Did you arrest him from Racecourse Road?
Listen to me.
तो क्या मेहरबानी कर दी आपने? नहीं, आपने मेहरबानी कर दी सज्जाद तारिक साहब की, उनको अरेस्ट कर दिया कुछ चंद दिनों के लिए, कुछ महीनों के लिए, और फिर छोड़ दिया, और फिर दावत पे बुला रहे हैं. नहीं, प्रधानमंत्री जी बुला रहे हैं आपके ही, और राहुल गांधी जो कश्मीरी हिंदू हैं उनको कोई तकलीफ नहीं हो रही.
राहुल जी, मैं स्टेप बाय स्टेप आपकी बात का जवाब दूंगा. पहले
आप किसको, सज्जाद तारिक भाई, आप आज किसको डिफेंड कर रहे हो?
दिस इज द प्रॉब्लम दैट यू विल नॉट अलाउ मी टू स्पीक. तो मैं बात नहीं रख पाऊंगा ना. आप बोलिए, मुझे 2 मिनट दे दीजिए बस.
चलो आप बोलिए सर, खुल के बोलिए.
दूसरा पॉइंट, जो ये कहा जाता है कि SRO 43 was meant for militants or terrorists, I'll tell you, 2 years back हमारे रजौरी के 3 लड़के, जिसमें से एक का नाम अयाज था और 2 और आप सबको मालूम है कि उनको शोपियां में एनकाउंटर में मार दिया गया 2 साल पहले. आफ्टर रिपीटेड प्रोटेस्ट फॉर 4 months हमने उनकी डेड बॉडीज निकलवाई कब्रों में से. जब पोस्टमार्टम किया गया और उनकी डिटेल पता चली तो वो रजौरी के लड़के निकले, एंड इट वाज सर्टिफाइड दैट दे आर नॉट मिलिटेंट्स. दे हैव गॉन देयर फॉर द लेबर जॉब. वो बेचारे मजदूरों का काम करने गए थे. एक की उम्र 18 साल, दूसरे की उम्र 19 साल, तीसरे की उम्र 21 साल. अब जो लोग इंसर्जेंसी में मारे गए, शिकार हो गए, फॉर एग्जांपल मैं चौक पे खड़ा हूं, राहुल आप चौक पे खड़े हैं, गोली किसी को नहीं देखती. सुनिए मेरी बात. इस पॉलिसी SRO 43
ये आप पाखंड कर रहे हैं. SRO 43's most glaring example was Mehbooba Mufti going to Burhan Wani's house with a check of ₹5 lakhs. That was SRO 43 in practice. That was SRO 43 in practice.
पंडित जी आप बोल रहे थे, मैं बीच में नहीं बोला.
आप बीच में, आप लीपापोती कर रहे हैं, आप प्रोपेगेंडा कर रहे हैं.
अरे सुनिए,
बुरहान वानी के घर 5 लाख रुपए का चेक SRO 43 के थ्रू गया है.
मिस्टर सुशील पंडित, गिव मी 2 मिनट्स, उसके बाद आप 15 मिनट बोलिएगा. ये ऐसा नहीं चलेगा प्लीज. आपको यू शुड मेंटेन द सैंक्टिटी. हर वक्त आपकी ये प्रॉब्लम है, जब कोई दूसरा तथ्य रखना शुरू कर देता, यू स्टार्ट पीपिंग इनटू इट.
नहीं, आप तथ्य नहीं रख रहे हैं.
चलो लेट हिम फिनिश. वी विल ब्रिंग आउट द फैक्ट्स. लेट हिम बोलने दो. बोलिए साहब, बोलिए आप. सज्जाद तारिक साहब बोलिए.
बताइए, जो 2 साल पहले वो 3 लड़के मारे गए, उसके बाद उस पर सभी चैनल्स में डिबेट्स होती हैं और वो बेकसूर माने जाते हैं. वो मेरे रेजिडेंस से 3 किलोमीटर दूर पे उनका घर है. उनको क्या देंगे? उनके घर वालों को जहर देंगे आप? You just present a one-sided figure and then you say what Manmohan Singh has done for Kashmiri Pandits.
Are you done with your 2 pointers?
सुनिए मेरी बात, मैं एक बात का जवाब दे रहा हूं, सुनते जाइए, बर्दाश्त कीजिए. सुशील पंडित जी आइए जम्मू में. I'll receive you on the Jammu.
अरे get to the point.
I'll take you to Purkhu camp and I'll show you जो 2100 घर मनमोहन सिंह ने बनाए, 16,000 करोड़ रुपए का जो पैकेज दिया, वो आपको नहीं दिखा. उसके बाद जो पॉलिटिकल टॉक्स होती हैं, इवन वाजपेयी जी के साथ पॉलिटिकल टॉक्स हुई. वाजपेयी मेट ऑल द स्टेक होल्डर्स. all political parties और separatists से भी मिले जो stakeholder नहीं थे.
टेररिस्ट से तो नहीं मिले.
सुनिए मेरी बात. separatists से भी मिले. And you say of the foreign policy,
अजब है.
it was Atal Bihari Vajpayee who went to Kashmir and said मैं पाकिस्तान के दोस्ती का हाथ बढ़ाता हूं. Then
Okay, you have said, you have spoken now more than 3 minutes. Mr. Tariq, now listen.
Okay, done.
Now listen. 1 minute.
Done.
One listen. You have said that we arrested. Yes, you arrested for a few weeks. You could not but arrest. Let me finish
For
now.
5 long
Let me
years.
finish. Let me
For
finish.
5 long years, no.
Let me
आप
finish.
बोलिए 5 साल के लिए.
Can you show
पहले
me,
आपको
sir?
बोलना पड़ेगा.
Can you show me in one of these cases, and there are 63, in one of the cases, is there a conviction?
Yes, many were convicted. Why not?
I'm talking about Yasin Malik.
Many were
Show me the
convicted.
conviction of Yasin Malik in any of those cases. Bataiye.
No trials were going on. No.
No
Trials are going
went
on.
Not
Bhai
even
sahab.
charge sheets were filed.
Exactly. Number one. Number
Charge
two.
sheet.
Number two, he talks about SRO 43. I'm not going to say anything, viewers. I'll just quote this document. What does this document say? The widows and orphans who are covered under the provisions of SFO 43 should be provided relief as in the case of victims of militancy under issue 1. Now,
Who do
viewers,
you treat as the victims?
what does
of
it say?
militancy?
No, one second. What does it say, viewers?
Whom do you treat the victims?
Can you,
Victims.
sir, allow me? Can you allow me?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Can you allow me to finish?
Yes, please.
Instead of barking at me? Don't do
Please,
that.
please. Go on.
Don't
go
do
on.
that.
Go on, sir. Go on.
Viewers, this equation that has been drawn, equivalence between those who were killed by the same terrorists, whose families are being compensated. You tell me, is it fair? Viewers, you tell me, is it fair? What does it sound like to you?
Hey, Rahul, the point is Burhan Wani's family was offered a check of 5 lakh rupees as compensation for having
वो आप
killed
कांग्रेस को
their
मत पूछिए.
terrorist son.
That you need to ask the BJP people. Don't ask Congress.
It happened
Mr.
under
Sushil
a
Pandit.
policy.
Mahbooba
You had
Mufti
created a
Minister
policy
and
during your
BJP was
regime.
getting the center. Don't
You were
talk
responsible
nonsense
for the
about me.
policy. Burhan Wani is just an example. You did it to every fallen terrorist. You encouraged families to create more Burhan Wanis and less of Lieutenant Fayaz. That is what you did. You put an incentive of producing Burhan Wanis and Musas. You gave an incentive for creating more and more Musas and Wanis as opposed to creating Lieutenant Fayaz and Rifleman Aurangzeb. You put them on the same pedestal. You were compensating families in the same way as you would compensate a dead employee during service. And the point is, till date, not one Kashmiri Hindu life has been compensated. Not one dead Kashmiri Hindu life has been compensated.
Nothing doing.
What about this?
You need to ask.
You compensate Burhan Wani's family. You will not compensate Tikalal Tablu's family. You will not compensate Premnath Bhatt's family. You will not compensate Sarla Bhatt's family. You will not compensate Girija Tikku's family. But you will compensate Burhan Wani's family. That is what you did in Kashmir. That is what SRO 43 does. You've not given a dime of compensation for all the properties you grabbed in Kashmir of Kashmiri Hindus.
Putting up on the shoulders of Congress that you need to put on the shoulders of BJP and Mahbooba Mufti.
Why? Why should we let you go scot-free? You created a policy. You created a policy establishment. You created a policy regime under which you legitimized militancy. You gave a premium to jihad. You gave a premium to jihad. You are complicit with our genocide. You are complicit with our genocide as much as those who wielded the gun. Yasin Malik wielded the gun. You wielded the pen that wrote such policies which were complicit in our genocide. अब आप मुझे नहीं सुनना चाहेंगे. जब आप बोल रहे थे, आप चाहते थे कि मैं न बोलूं. अब मैं बोल रहा हूं, आप मुझे सुनना नहीं चाहेंगे.
And saying lies. No.
What lies? You were lying. You were lying that SRO 43.
1 minute. झूठ तो 1 second. Let me come in lowering everyone's faders. झूठ तो इतने बोले गए हैं कांग्रेस पार्टी ने, who have even denied that a genocide happened, viewers. Ratan Sharda wants to come in. Mr. Sharda, sorry, These individuals are completely unrepentant. It is quite shocking that they wanted an unconditional dialogue with the murderers of Kashmiri Hindus, an unconditional dialogue. What does that tell you, sir?
Rahul, these people are trying to deviate the debate from very serious issue of total gross injustice to Kashmiri Hindus by bringing in one case or other as some tear-jerker. You know, what is wrong with Kashmir? I studied the entire history of Kashmir from 47 onwards. Problem is that they carry a Nehruvian negationism, Nehruvian guilt that Jammu Kashmir doesn't belong to India. They think it's a perversity that Jammu Kashmir came to India, so they will do everything to appease those radical elements who want to keep on creating trouble and want to take Kashmir to Pakistan. They have denied old history. They have denied the existence of indigenous, the most old Hindu community in India itself, and they have been creating all this trouble because this is their theory. And why it is happening, I always wondered why when Kashmir was in control, suddenly it burst up again. When it went calmed down again, it burst, because in their heart they never wanted this to become a settled issue, because they had a very strong sympathy for these militants, believing they were freedom fighters. This is the reason why all these separatists got funds from the central government. They got security from the central government. They had wonderful homes in Delhi and various places. Their children stayed at the best possible school. But Kashmiri Hindus, out of sheer helplessness, how they were able to read or study is a wonder. Nobody can have an answer for that. I kept quiet because the pain that people, Sushil Pandit or Sunanda Vashisht personally faced, I have not. But I can say that's the entire charade of talks. You know, what did interlocutor team say? They said Kashmir can be a bridge between India and Pakistan. The languages have told you that they did not believe that Kashmir belonged to India. When you talk to these butchers and you say and you glorify the butchers on the various summit meetings and call them home, you pay them handsome compensation. Then see, all the Kashmiri Valley politicians, same people in the same basket. Their behavior changes depending on what side of the chair they are, whether they're ruling or whether they're in the opposition.
Right.
And they have their hands in gloves with the Pakistani terrorists, Pakistani separatists. We cannot deny it. How can this guy, Yasin Malik, has been charged now after 32 years? Imagine, for 32 years, he was not charged with any crime. And that is being charged for laundering money.
Sir,
not
on
for
that
the
point,
murders, which he himself committed and admitted he has done it.
Yes, Mr.
What
Sharda,
kind of state
on that
it was?
point.
He is being prosecuted only for money laundering,
Right now. Even now.
None of the heinous crimes.
And let
only
me
a
say,
white-collar crime.
And let me say, and Sunanda Vashisht is also listening. Right
and
now.
he has committed that he has murdered people.
Yes, on TV. He's come out and said it on TV.
Yes.
It's all available. It's all available. Now let me tell you, Lokesh Jindal of the Congress came out and said, we arrested him. Sajjad Tariq says, we arrested him. At least we arrested him. But if you arrested him, it must have been a reason why you arrested him.
5 long years, Rahul Shivshankar. 5 long years when Kashmiri Hindus were on the camps for 32 years.
Exactly.
The
so let me tell you.
How to study.
Ratan Sharda ji, let me just say.
Homeland is just taken up by these people.
Let me just say. One second. Vivek Agnihotri is also joining us, but I want to bring in Lokesh Jindal and Sunanda Vashisht. I just want...
And one last point, Rahul, just 10 seconds. Sushil Pandit said we were minority, but for the saddest part of Constitution is that Hindus are not considered minority even when they are a minority.
That's true.
This perverseness
that's a separate issue, separate debate. We'll come to that. But viewers, let me tell you. The Congress today says, we arrested him. We are the ones who arrested him. Well, there must have been a reason why you arrested him. And the reason was that there were 63 cases that were filed against him, viewers. In each of those cases, there were very heinous charges. Some were tada, some were murder. Viewers, he spent all of 5 years in jail. And after that, he must have been presumed innocent because he was brought and had a big long chat and meeting with Dr. Manmohan Singh and posed 1-hour meetings he had. And he comes out of that meeting and he says, I think it works in favor of these countries to include Kashmiris in the decision-making process. The political forces and the militants and their leaders must be part of peace talks. I'll tell you, viewers, if the Congress had extended its rule for a few more years, Kasab's handlers like Mr. Lakhvi would have also been invited in Hyderabad House, and we would have had a dialogue with them also. And for good measure, they would have also brought in the general who runs Pakistan today, who sponsors all the terror, and that Imran Khan. They would have all sat, as the Congress did send its leaders across. They would have said, "Aa jao. Enough of us going there, now we will give you some great khatirdari, Hindustani khatirdari." And then they would have said this was being done to save Indian lives. Viewers, just think about the betrayal. Sunanda Vashisht, before that, Lokesh Jindal, if that is your logic, sir, I humbly say it is flawed. Will we release all the mass murderers in our jail now and invite them for a nice conversation because it will keep their victims safe, or those who are their families safe? What kind of logic is this, Jindal Saab?
See, first of all, I would like to answer to my co-panelist Ratan Sharda, sir. I don't know which history are you reading and which constitution are you referring. The constitution explicitly mentions about linguistic minorities and religious minorities. So please do not be in this particular.
Listen, I'm not going to get into this debate. This is a 1 minute. Ratan Sharda and Lokesh Jindal, 1 minute. I don't at this moment care. I don't care about the minorities right now and who should be classified a minority. I am talking about justice that the Congress denied because it started going out there and suggesting that the people who are the murderers of Kashmiri Hindus should be engaged in an unconditional dialogue. You just answered that question, Mr. Jindal. Don't become a constitutionalist.
Let me come to it. First,
why were Kashmiri Hindus not considered minority?
The work of the judiciary. Please do not expect the executive to adjudicate all the convicts. You should know how the constitution functions, how the state functions. Now you want the UPA government to take over the Supreme Court as well.
Ratan Sharda ji, should we at this moment, 1 minute, put down everyone's faders. Ratan Sharda ji, should we at this moment in time be debating whether they should be given minority status or not, or should we be discussing right now whether they should be given justice? I think let's focus it on the justice aspect and not let Mr. Jindal get off the hook. Mr. Jindal, just talk about the denial of justice and why your political party and your government at that time was entertaining unconditional dialogue with terrorists, sir, who were the butchers of Kashmiri Hindus. Simple answer.
First of all, adjudicating a particular person who is in trial is the work of the judiciary. Please do not expect the government to come out and dictating sentences.
Hello. You know, the judge trying bitter karate said, I have to release this man on bail because government is not interested in prosecuting him. Do you understand? Plain English.
Sir,
the judges had to leave him on bail because government was not interested in prosecuting him. Government was not interested in investigating the cases. Government was not interested in marshalling evidence. Government was not interested in getting even the testimony of victims. Government was not interested in convicting him. Do you understand?
Correct. The UPA government had filed the case and for 5 years he was imprisoned.
He was in prison. He was under trial. But there was no trial. Do you understand? Do you get this basic common sense? He was under trial with no trial taking place. That is why he had to be released.
You know what? You know what?
Can you accuse Congress?
Jindal and this other gentleman that we have from the Congress party, Mr. Sajjad Tariq, they're sounding like tonight, viewers, apologists for murderers.
Sir, we are
now, that is your call. It's a democracy, sir, and you can be. I just want to come in here and go straight across to Mr. Vivek Agnihotri, who joins us. Mr. Vivek Agnihotri, you have seen the story. We put it out. I just want to ask you, do you think this reward of talks with the plotters of genocides in the valley, in your mind, constitutes a betrayal of Kashmiri Hindus and proves that perhaps the Congress was never really inclined in providing the community justice, the community back of which you have made your movie?
See, my views on this are that this world today stands divided between two kinds of people or two kinds of groups. one which believes in humanity and is working to strengthen humanity and therefore evolve for जिसको हिंदी में कहते हैं जन कल्याण और मानव का कल्याण. And the other group is the industry of terrorism. And terrorism industry suddenly has become so profitable that a lot of political parties, a lot of intellectuals, historians, influencers are being employed by this industry. In India, it's really a sad commentary that the party which actually was led by great Kashmiri pundits like Jawaharlal Nehru ji, Motilal Nehru, his father, Indira Gandhi ji, Rajiv Gandhi. Today, their grandson, Shri Rahul Gandhi ji, has brought it to a situation where his party actually is standing with the terrorists, and they are giving a kind of a political and ideological shield to the terrorists. And as a result, Yasin Malik, who killed Air Force officers, who killed innocent women, who killed so many Kashmiri Hindus, that the Prime Minister of India from Congress party invited him to the Prime Minister office. What can be the sadder commentary than this on Indian democracy? Same thing they are aligning with all kinds of divisive, bigoted communal forces. They are aligning with China and Pakistan, which are creating a nexus to work against India and dominate Kashmir region for their sinister politics.
So do you believe also, because they might not want this truth to come out, that they are targeting your film? Is that what you think? Or is there actually something questionable about the facts in your movie?
See, there are genocide creators, and there are genocide enablers, and there are genocide deniers. In fact, all three are more or less the same. So who are the genocide designers or the creators who helped create this genocide in Kashmir? I would say mostly Rajiv Gandhi's government is responsible for this. Because all this, the situation for genocide started sometime in mid-80s. And Rajiv Gandhi ji avoided this, and he said that Farooq Abdullah is a good friend of mine. How can I upset him by sending army or Indian forces to curb terrorism? And therefore you see these people have started blaming Jagmohan Saab, but Jagmohan Saab joined on the 21st of January. But all this terrorism and Ralif Galif Shalif, leave your women behind Hindus, and we'll marry your women, all these chanting had started earlier. By the time VP Singh's government came, everything was created, the architecture was there, the design was there, and the migration had already started and people were being killed. Second thing is genocide enablers. Now, these genocide enablers are the people who keep giving ideological shield to all these terrorists. If you see some people from media who are aligned with Congress, they created fake news standing with a mic in front of in Kashmir. Then there are historians, intellectuals, all these people have been regularly rewarded by the Congress party. And today, Samajwadi Party, Owaisi's party, Mr. Owaisi's AIMM in Telangana, who filed a PIL against my film yesterday. Today, Samajwadi Party, Akhilesh Yadav's party, that party is also reported to Human Rights Commission. And Rahul Gandhi's party, all three have created a nexus, and they are raising their voice against terrorism. And they're denying that this kind of genocide never happened. So very briefly, just give me 20 seconds, I'll tell you that the people who designed, generated, and operated the genocide, they became genocide enablers, and today they are pretending to be genocide deniers. So this entire cycle starts with Rajiv Gandhi ji, ends with Rahul Gandhi, and in between you have Owaisi's, and you have Akhilesh Yadav, and Mamata Banerjee, and all these people. And I believe today Shri Arvind Kejriwal has also jumped into this debate, and he, you know, has been very pro-Khalistan, a supporter of Khalistan movement, and he has been part of giving them ideological shield to divide India.
Well, let me just go straight across to Sunanda Vashisht. You know, we just heard Mr. Agnihotri, and he's reacting to this expose. Now, Sunanda Vashisht, what links these parties is the culture of appeasing vote banks?
Yes. Rahul, I'm actually surprised when I saw your document. I had never heard this before. I only heard what you were saying. I would like to see this document after this show.
Yeah.
It is a shocking document. Only thing I can say after this document is I am surprised we didn't see Hafiz Saeed in the Prime Minister's house with Prime Minister Manmohan Singh. That would have also happened given this document and how brazen it is. What joins all these parties? Let me tell you in 30 seconds what joins these parties. It's simple. Anybody who has a little bit of understanding about Kashmir will tell you. What were they doing? They were making jihadis the real stakeholders of Kashmir. What did that mean? That meant that they never ever understood what Kashmir is. The original laboratory, the first jihadist laboratory in the world, Kashmir, they never understood what it was. They were buying lock, stock, barrel. What leftists were telling them that this is some war, this is some war for self-determination, because Yasin Malik saw some altercation between security forces and some local people. That is why he picked up guns, and now he's become a Gandhi, and now they did not understand that people who are motivated by jihad will never ever join this mainstream of India. These are two different ideologies. You cannot buy them with money, you cannot buy them with appeasement, you cannot buy them with anything. Anybody who is motivated by Islam is jihad, you cannot buy them. So that is what they were trying. They do not understand the Kashmir crisis. This is not policy paralysis, what they often call Manmohan Singh's government. This is policy failure. Do not call it policy paralysis.
Look, I need to...
failure.
I have one thing to say.
Okay, very quickly, I need to move on to another big story. Yes.
They had outsourced managing Kashmir to the same jihadists who had turned us out.
Well,
that was the policy.
That is pretty much here, viewers, in these documents. These documents don't lie. We're going to try and question Mr. Hamid Ansari, of course, and ask him what informed this thinking. I don't think he's going to speak to us. News.